Welcome to this episode that I am going to do by myself today. First one ever, but in a way, I'm kind of excited for this. Dayna Grace has just been able to not able to be here today, which is totally fine. We've had conversation already that I was going to do a December energy update for the month of December of 2024. And going forward, I'm going to make this kind of like a regular deal. So there'll be like a monthly kind of energetic update, and I will hopefully do it right at the end of the month prior or right in the beginning, like as I'm doing today, which is December 2nd. So I wanted to do this because I feel pulled to do a little bit more of this, I think, with just everything changing so much on Earth. And yes, this has been a year of massive change in 2024 on our planet, but for what's to come is even more yet. Not in a super intense way where you're like, should be sweating or anything like that, but in a way of maybe by having a bit of an understanding of the energetics as a whole might help you just move through different pieces. So maybe seeing some of the energetics that might play out in a month might help you determine and understand kind of what or why situations are happening the way they are, maybe why the intensity it is showing up in people the way it could be, just to help make sense a little bit more of the whole picture, so you're not kind of feeling like a fish out of water and not really sure so much with what might be going on with you. You might feel really calm and cool collected in your own way, but maybe you're watching this happen to a lot of people around you. So I feel as though maybe these energy updates will hopefully help uh, y'all to understand how it might roll through the month. Again, there's no, saying this is set in stone. So we could give this as a generalized basis and take it, take what your truth is out of it, leave the rest, as we always say that, because we do feel it's important that you find your own truth within all information, whether it be our podcast or anything else in the world. And so that's what we're going to do for the month of December. We're going to go through a little bit of what the energy is going to be for this month. Again, at a more generalized basis, everybody's in different spots in life, everybody's on a different part of their journey. Again, it's all supposed to be unique, but we're going to go from, again, that more larger scale from the Earth's frequency perspective and kind of the energy that is flowing as a collective across our planet and even partially out into the galaxy, because of course it's all connected. So this month is going to be a month of, right away they instantly show me that there's a lot of people that often will reflect in the month of December because it's our last month of the year. A lot of people, either reflect back on their year or are thinking about life and kind of going through the bit different pieces. Did they meet goals? Did they do this or that? And so it's a time where automatically a lot of people will reflect because it's just naturally part of the end of our year. But the thing about this month is it's actually the only way I can actually describe this is like a tingling. Like it's a sensation of like knowing that there could be something so much more if that's what I wanted to choose and lean towards. Now, this might seem super general to you in the fact where you're like, I don't know. That doesn't really give me a whole lot of clarity or answers, but it is clarity because it gives you an understanding that if there's something here you wish to shift or change, and I know like people are thinking, oh yeah, New Year's resolutions, everybody makes them, most people never stick to them. That's not what I'm talking about here. This is an energetic shift, okay? And it's a time where you can really tap into that part of yourself to feel into this and feel and make choice for yourself. But you could also choose to resist it, and you could then choose to still be staying in the same boat you've been in for, however long. And again, there's no judgment on self. If you're not choosing something different, that's okay. Again, it's your journey. You get to choose what this gets to be. And it just is going to come down to what you want to still experience here in your life. And if you have no idea what that is, this might be a really good month also to think about that. So they're showing me a lot of heart-centered thinking, heart-centered feeling. Thinking, when they say heart-centered thinking, it's thinking about your experiences that you wish yet to have here as your human experience. And it doesn't have to be massive. It doesn't have to be this massively big dream or anything like that. But just these little notions of getting very clear on what you still want to experience here in life, especially as the earth changes. And this will also be a month too where natural reflection is happening, yes, but deep intentional reflection could also be extremely good at this month for the fact, again, you will get to see where you've come from, where you've been at, what has been going on. Maybe you're still recognizing parts that you're like, I really don't really wish to continue with that, or those habits or whatever it is. This is a good time to recognize that because, again, the shift that's going to happen, and when you do choose to choose this, it's going to happen quickly, where it's like, if you're choosing something different, it's not this massive fight with self in a way, like how maybe it has been in the past. So this is definitely a month that has, I always call it that tingle effect, where that if there's something there you want to shift, this is a great time to do it or to start working towards that, because of the fact that the energy is very potent in its own way right now. It's potent with creativity to a certain degree as well. So if you're feeling really creative, and maybe not everybody maybe always feels super creative when it's Christmas time and all these things are happening. But if you've noticed, a lot of that's also starting to shift with people's perception of what Christmas needs to be, what it should be, what they want it to be. A lot of the notions and titles and things are starting to come to a recognition with a lot of people that they don't necessarily resonate with. So again, it is shifting that energy to be more creative in a capacity of thinking about what you want things to be as well. What do certain things mean to you when it comes to holidays or family or interaction in that way? Because again, as Earth chooses to change, our bodies naturally have to keep up with that change and that frequency because that is where she's going. But now it's up to yourself as an individual to choose what you want to get on board with, but also to understand that the collective is also shifting and changing as well. And with each person that chooses to get clarity or chooses something better for self in their own perception and eyes, then you actually help the collective as well continue that shift and change onto our ascension process that we are currently in the middle of. So know and understand that if it's something that you're excited by and passionate by, I would say that now would be a really great time to explore a bit more of that, look into it, and find out, where the pieces are that are really feeling exciting to you. Maybe you've always wanted to start your own business and you just never really, felt like you could before. This again is that tingle. It's like the child that knows and understands imagination is limitless. And this is like the month of limitlessness. That's quite a word. But that is what it kind of feels like. And it's not even just about the magic of being the holidays. I mean, that's not the energy we're talking about here. This is like a true change and shift if that's what you want it to be. Okay. This is always going to come back to your own choice because you're always going to get choice in this. Now, also prepare yourself in a way to know and understand if you're going to ask for something different and it's quite maybe a large change, you're going to have to change some things within yourself, and you're going to have to be okay with letting certain things go that are already currently in your life, depending on what you're asking for. And again, you can't have all the old things. You want to buy new furniture, but you really are attached to your old stuff, and yet your living room's not big enough to put it all in. Okay. You're going to have to usually want to get rid of the old stuff, right? So this is kind of how it works when it comes to making a change or choosing something different. You also have to know it has to come from within you first, and the universe will help you take care of the things in your physical reality if that's necessarily the case. But know and understand that you can't ask and ask and ask and ask and never expect to change yourself, because your frequency means you're going to then continue to stay on the same track you've always been on. Okay. So this December is one of these massive energy shifts where it's not a shift, it's a choice. Okay. It's where the energy is there. It's waiting for you, like the little kid waiting to go play, on the big playground. That seems so exciting to that child. And it's just a notion of knowing and understanding if you want the shift or to shift something, this is the month to start doing it. You don't wait until the new year, okay? Because that's just pointless. Again, procrastination is a type of fear. And so often when someone wants to procrastinate, either you truly don't really want it and you just think it's a better option, or there's some kind of fear coming up that we will continually push off something. So in a way, this is a great time to, yes, reflect on where you've been, where you've come from. What did you feel like you did accomplish that worked out well for you this year? If that's, something you really want to think about, what was a shift in yourself that maybe you made and it worked out really well, or brought in some really cool opportunities, great. And if you haven't had any of those, that's okay too. But this is a time for awareness of self. This is a month for awareness of self and reflection, and then making a choice whether you would like to change or shift something within you or your life. If you're going to ask for $1 million, I'm really sorry, but I can't tell you that's going to show up, the next day. But if that's a shift you want, more abundance, then you must start accepting and receiving for self, believing that you're worthy of actually receiving that. A lot of people um want to have this notion where, they can just think of these things and they're just going to come in. But you have to remember it always stems within ourselves first. So this is a time to see your glass ceilings, if you have any, that you're wanting to shift or change. But again, the reason for the tingles is like, yes, you make the choice, you're in that boat, you're on board with that. Now, as the next year comes, there is going to be a lot of change. And it's not just going to be personal change for people, but it's going to be on the collective as well. There's going to be a lot of things that are going to happen in the next 2 to 3 years, even. So, really exciting things too. But again, where December is a good time to reflect on, I don't want to say reflecting on, all the negative things, because I don't believe it's negative. I only believe in the crumbling to create something new and in its place. And that is what happens when, ascension is needed and an evolution is happening. And so, as much as, it might feel daunting being at the end of 2024 in the last month, this is also a point where you start looking at the light of the end of the tunnel, even at the collective state of things, because it will help you keep your own vibration in a better state of being, but also be able to help the collective as well as we continue on this process. So, the larger aspect of things in December is like this notion that they just showed me, the snow falling, and it is very quiet. And I actually just read something that was quite interesting about if you live in a place where it snows, as I do at the moment. When it snows, it actually dampens sound because there's enough pockets in snow that actually trap sound. And so that's why often it's referred to as this really beautiful silence that happens when it snows, especially like the big flakes, right? The big snowflakes and the calmness that seems to come with that. And like that is, excuse me, and that is part of, yes, it seems kind of cliche for December, especially here in Canada, but that's kind of like the stillness that's needed to not just reflect, but to make change and choice of what you want to have not just happen individually, but even what you'd like to see as a collective for the earth, for humanity, and to choose that for humanity instead of just being an individual here, you know, and we've become very uh I guess isolated in a certain way, right? And so to use that analogy of the snow falling and let the silence come over and to reconnect with self, but also the earth in that way, allows us for a capacity of seeing and understanding a beauty that has always existed here, but it's becoming more and more and more intense as the shifts are continuing to happen. And so again, it's like to be able to connect in with that allows you more space to make choice for you too, if that's what you're wanting to do. And just know, this is a great month again to become really creative. If you feel like the creative bubble is there, or like the creative ideas are kind of at the surface, explore them a little bit because they're showing up for a reason right now as well. It's maybe not always to take action. Okay. If you're not really pulled to take the action, that's okay. Maybe it's just pulled to explore it a little bit. And that's great. But don't just shove it away. Because again, there's something about this tingling sensation of wanting something different and on the verge of having that happen. So creativity is kind of our kind of golden arrow sometimes when it comes to shifting. Just even certain ways of thinking, if you're able to tap into a little bit more of that. Now, on a collective basis, more so with December, you're going to see, possibly in yourself or around you and other people, or situations and places, this sensation of I'm tired of fighting. And so almost a sense of surrender in a way that could be, maybe you kind of always knew someone to be the warrior or to speak up and, put their opinion on the table, or, stand up for others in certain ways. But this notion of consistently needing to be in charge with a sword in their hand, they show me the sword being laid down and a tiredness taking over the mind and body in a way where it's never been felt quite to those degrees, and the heart once more opening up kind of in a different sense of I'm tired of fighting. There's got to be a better way of doing this, or I choose to surrender and allow something larger than myself, whatever you wish to call that, God, source, universe, whatever it is your title might be, no right or wrong. But this notion of starting to surrender a bit more into something larger than self and not feeling the need to always do it yourself or be in full control of all of it. And this could be kind of situations that are kind of shoved out in front of certain people that doesn't really feel like they have a whole lot of choice in the situation any longer. Or it could be a choice that one might naturally make, again, yourself or maybe others around you that you might see or know. So if somebody surprises you in this way, don't be quick to jump on the horse of what's wrong with you. Choose to support, because that is a frequency that is a higher state of being that is more helpful to those individuals or yourself anyway. So choosing to really embrace that and be very aware of that in yourself and other people around you, because there may be some that find this to be an extremely hard thing to do. Again, could be yourself or others. And it could cause quite an emotional intensity through these types of people. And by having a safer container of support from others will allow them to choose that more often, right? It's a way of recognizing self in another and knowing that that support, whether it be through words or not, or just a sense of sensation of love that you're sent across to everybody, will be extremely helpful for that individual and others, of course, that might be in the same kind of frequency or vibration at that point in time. To really be sure to take care of yourself is the other really big one. And I don't just say this as like, oh yeah, go have a spa day and call it good. I am talking more at an energetic level and awareness level. There is a sensation of need within our physical bodies right now. Our physical bodies are desperate to heal. They always have been, but they are even more so now than they maybe ever have been, once more, because of the frequencies on Earth are changing. Our DNA is changing and being activated differently to keep up with that. And as those frequencies are going to continue to rise, our body is rising with that. But to get to those points, there's certain aspects of self that need to be healed quite often, even in the physical body, because that is where the energy is being stored. So the awareness of self is important to know. If you need to take time, you need to take time. If you need to rest, you need to rest. And you can't fight with yourself in doing this. It's not going to work very well, because sure, you're like, okay, fine, I'll rest for 15 minutes. But in that 15 minutes, you're watching the clock and you're like, okay, is this done? Is this over with yet? You're still creating a sense of chaos because your brain is connected still to your body. And so your thought processes are going to still affect whether your body is actually getting to rest or not. And if your thoughts are always like, okay, is my 15 or half an hour or whatever amount of time you've put on it, is it up? Is it up? Is it up? Well, you haven't created an actual container for yourself to rest. You've created a container now that's gone into the mind aspect of self, even though maybe your body is not physically moving. It's not really helping you. So if you find it very challenging, this is again a point in time to reflect. Have you been listening? Have you been listening when you needed to rest? Have you been listening when, your body starts to get sick and yet you're still pushing through and doing things because you don't feel that bad, right? This is the type of reflection you might want to think back on, because again, as the world continues to move and change and the energy is shifting, it's becoming more intense. These are going to be one of the big things that are going to show up on people's doorsteps. And a lot of people don't always like it, because by the time, it finally hits them, whether the universe is taking care of that for you or not, usually it's pretty intense, right? If you've been ignoring it or pushing it aside or resisting it, by the time it shows up, it's usually pretty intense go. So more recovery time, or this or that might start showing up. So take care of yourself now and start that practice now. Um, and you'll see a lessening effect when, time rolls on here into the next part of the new year. I would say those are definitely the biggest ones for December, particularly. And on a general basis, again, of don't get too far ahead, be in the present moment of now, like when it snows. And as much as I dislike the snow personally, there is something very magical about when it does snow, those really big flakes, and it's quiet and it's calm, and it's like the whole world kind of comes to a standstill in a way. And yet it's almost like, to me, where the energy and the energetics meet the physical world in a way that pulls back a veil that so many people either have just no idea of it consciously, or have never really been taught, the magic that actually exists here. So choose to be present, choose to stay in the moment, choose to be in that with your kids if you have children, choose to do it with your pets. Choose that moment to be very present, enjoy the sunshine on your face when you're outside, whether it's cold or not. You could also stand in a window at home. So it's about becoming present and awareness, and choosing something different if that's what you're wanting, even if it feels a little bit scary. But this is where, I'm going to call the year of 2025, to me, this word has come back a few times, but it's like the magic of the unknown gets to be seen in a physical way. And I know that kind of sounds crazy and out there a little bit, but like, no joke, that's what's kind of come to me multiple times now. And, through my own meditations and stuff too. And I've kind of liked the way it's been phrased. It feels very exciting to me. And yet I can understand why some might be nervous about it, because maybe those experiences, are not something they're used to or they're nervous about. But there's nothing to truly be nervous of if you know and understand your fear of the unknown naturally comes just simply from a place of not understanding what that is. But we're not supposed to understand the unknown. We're supposed to feel it. We're supposed to go off the feeling of what we feel coming out of a sensation of energy. So practice that now. And I promise you, it'll be lessened out as the years go on and the changes come. And it'll be more comforting, because in a way, your feeling is going to give you more of a notion of what is coming, rather than trying to figure it all out from a mind perspective of thinking about every piece of that. So there you have December energy, first energy update. And I am going to do one again for January. I'm sure Dayna Grace will be on with some of these in the near future. But for now, we're going to leave at that. And if you enjoyed this, please leave a comment for us. Join our community. We still have our community rolling. We still do lots of different things in that community. We're going to be celebrating our first year of having our podcast come December here. And so it's very exciting for us. We have so much appreciation for all of you that have chosen to continue to follow this and be a part of either a community or just listening to these. It is fantastic. And, wishing you all the best throughout the rest of December and, of course, into 2025. So we will see you on our next episode.